So while everybody is settling in, I want to invite and introduce Rahul Kulkarni. I had heard of Rahul for quite some time, but I actually met him only 3 months ago. And interestingly, we have interesting good thing is when you know good people, you get to know more good people. So that is how that's how we got connected to Rahul also. Uh, when we first met, he like I was telling about Mr. Srinivas Kulkarni also, I got so much energy and insight from Rahul that he said, "आप ही हमको सिखाओ." So and which he gracefully and graciously has agreed. So we are moving from the first headline a little deeper into that first headline is to understand conceptually what artificial intelligence is all about. So Rahul is going to take us a little deeper into that conceptual understanding, and also then he will be leading us into the hands-on session as well, which we will do post-lunch. A very brief and quick introduction to save time. Rahul has been in technology for many, many years. And interestingly, we are both from the same college, also BJTI. After his master's, he's worked in many projects for large organizations like created projects for NASA, CERN, and so on and so forth. When he was back in India, he was Google's first product manager in India. And then later on, in his current role, he has been doing two very interesting and important things. One is as the chief technologist of Samagra. He's an organization which is working towards governance and improving public governance and using software data and in improving public governance, and he is leading that the technology aspect of that. And his other as a founder, co-founder of something called DoNew, he's showing his other passion, which is helping people identify and nurture their own genius and helping teams create something very groundbreaking kind of work as well. So thank you so much, Rahul, for agreeing to lead this session for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chaitanya. Thank you very much for having me here. It's really an honor. It's one thing building technology. It's one thing creating policy. It's one thing being on the ground and actually executing it. So thank you for all your good work that you do on the ground, and thank you Stars Forum for actually running this for so long. I'm really bummed that you didn't know it so long, but I think now every year we'll be associated in some form or other.
30 seconds of your time.
Yes.
Professor Ganesh Ramkrishnan from IIT Bombay, he's had some other engagements which are coming in his way. So he's requested to give the 12 o'clock slot. So Rahul will talk, he's begin his talk now and go until 12. 12 o'clock we'll get Professor Ganesh to join from IIT on Zoom. Then we'll continue with Rahul. Okay.
Sure. So what we'll do is we'll start with the Chotusa Chutkula of AI. In terms of language, how many of you are comfortable with Hindi? Hindi all. Marathi? All. But online, no?
Online, there are people who are not
Marathi. Okay, I'll try to minimize Marathi, keep it to Hindi English. All India. Okay. Sounds great. Until we have the online AI translation happening, right? Okay. So when you think of AI, right, we just had absolutely magnificent presentation in terms of just placing, getting our mental model attuned towards what's human intelligence, what's artificial intelligence. Now I'm going to do things in three parts. The first part, and we have a very short time before 12 o'clock, but in the next 20 minutes, what I hope to give you is some real world applications of AI, just things that in your daily life, right? This is not specific to India, but in your daily life, where can you stretch the limits? So across my work in multiple sectors, one in terms of the building what is digital public infrastructure for India. And on the other front, building AI for the long tail. What does it mean to really make it work for a child? What does it mean to make it really work in education? It's one thing saying it can do X, Y, Z. When you really go to do it right, there are nuances there. I want you to understand where things hit limits, but also appreciate how much it can do. Okay, so the first 20 minutes we're just going to appreciate how much it can do. When we break for lunch and when we come back, of course, we have Professor Ganesh's lecture at 12 o'clock. When we come back from lunch, we're going to dive into practical challenges of AI in India. So all the demos that we see are typically English. They're typically maybe Hindi Marathi, but they're still Hindi Marathi. Go into a village in Uttar Pradesh in a district there. Go into some village in Maharashtra in some district there. Marathi just has 42 dialects just within Maharashtra. Same thing for every state. You go to Odisha, it has about 30, 40 dialects of Odia. So their ChatGPT and all breaks. So then what do we do? Right? So how do we figure out what is the next generation AI that we need to build for India? How do we augment all of that? So that we find out what does it mean to practically implement. I want you to walk away from what really works that's ready today. Because it's very easy to see demos from companies, organizations, and all good there. Everyone's really trying to help. But you're in the social sector, you're in the grassroots. And so when you see that demo and you say, ye karte hai, and then you go on the ground and it doesn't work, or it does harm, then you're very disappointed, almost go anti-technology. And so I don't want that to happen. So when we break from lunch, we'll dive into some parts of the limitations and where to know where it exists, and then dive into hands-on. I hope most of you seem to have some laptops. If not laptop, theek hai, phone ki sahi. But at least you'll load something on ChatGPT and try that out. But I want you to experience it, okay? Then we'll take real NGO in the example. We'll try something. All right? So now let's get immerse ourselves into the AI world. तो चुटकुले चालू करते हैं छोटे छोटे चुटकुले. Okay, so now this is a kid coming to you and saying, teacher ने फिर से आधा मार्क काटा. तो फिर से आधा मार्क काटा, क्यों काटा? Right? Generally क्लियर आधा मार्क तो ऐसे जाते रहता है. Now in the older times you would figure out कि पढ़ना पड़ रहा है, then you have to really assess, you really have no clue आधा मार्क क्यों काटा. But if you give the same thing to AI, this is just ChatGPT with photos as a feature enabled. So you can add an attachment or you can take a picture in ChatGPT. This is all handwriting. Okay. This is marks given by the teacher. 2 out of 2, 1.5 out of 2. Now I'm giving 2 photos. What are the 2 photos? One is the answer sheet, but one is also the question paper. And I'm just taking a rough photo, right? I'm not cropping into the exact question or the exact answer. I'm just saying, please see the question D1 and my answer to it. What am I missing? Why did the teacher cut half a mark? Just that. Okay, it needs to figure out which is D1 in the question paper. It needs to figure out what is D1 in the answer and figure out why is that answer 1.5 mark cut. Now the answer it gives, and this is probably too small for you to read, I'll paraphrase. It basically says, in this question D, you were asked this, you wrote this is the complete explanation, so you missed these points. And I asked myself, is that right? It's like, yeah, pretty much. Perfect. Now that nuance of now what happened here? One is handwriting. Okay, recognize handwriting. Second, is it identified which question is D1? That's pretty amazing, right? Even a human, we struggle, D1 put a sang mala, give me that. Right? That's always a challenge. It recognized it. So amongst large amount of info, this is easily done now. Let's look at more. So in working with education, work a lot with NEP, trying to figure out how to implement NEP in classrooms, how do you give that flexibility, how do you bring practical learning? One of the diagrams that every one of us hates, but everyone has seen, 8th or 9th grade, I think NCERT textbook, you always have this heart diagram. You have this vena cava and right atrium and left atrium and ventricle and all of that. Everyone by-hearted this diagram very grudgingly in school. Right? And probably one of the reasons why we started hating biology. Now, that diagram, I took a picture of it and said, I hate biology. Can you make it fun for me as an 8th grade? And that's it. That's just the prompt. It gave me a long text, okay, a long explanation, giving me an explanation that this art is very similar to a water park. तो लोग थक के आते हैं, पूरा ब्लड थक के आता है, then it goes into one of the ventricle, then it rests there. Then lunch के लिए then they take them to the lung. Lung में ऑक्सीजन, खाना, बुफे, लंच मिलता है. Then from the lung, it again comes back to the heart, refreshed, and एकदम जोर से बंद करके it goes into the body. And again पूरा वाटर पार्क घूम के वापस आता है, थक जाता है, sits in the rest area, goes back to lung, and it continues. That's how the heart works. Now, if you had been taught like that, it would have been amazing, right? That's such a beautiful analogy AI created on its own. Then I went a step further and said, you know what? Then can you give me a diagram to accompany this explanation? And this is the diagram it generated. Okay, so now this diagram is far more interesting for a child. The explanation is far more understandable for a child. Then I take a step further. I say, now, can you? I recorded about 30 seconds of my voice. Remember, Savan sir said, 30 seconds of voice can clone a voice, deep fake. I created a deep fake of my own. Okay, so 30 seconds of voice with a little clip and that text, that long explanation. And I tell AI, now turn it into a video for somebody in Tamil Nadu. I don't know Tamil, but here's what it's created. See, can you hear this? Can you see?
Okay.
Okay, it's going
माइक चैनल तो थोड़ा सा कर नहीं नहीं माइक चैनल था सिटी में आ गया पड़ता नहीं नहीं नहीं
ये अच्छा है फिर दोनों बन गए
एक माइक है
ऑन कर ओके
स्पीकर ले स्पीकर ले
ठीक है don't worry we'll figure it out for afternoon ठीक है मैं भी
கற்பனை செய்யுங்கள் கற்பனை செய்யுங்கள் கற்பனை செய்யுங்கள் கற்பனை செய்யுங்கள்
okay please somewhat audible. So what's interesting about this? So what's interesting about this? My lip movements were synced with the Tamil audio. Huh? It was synced in Tamil, which I don't know. So it clearly translated it. The voice was mine. It's not some robotic voice. One is it's not robotic, it was with expressions. The face expressions were also not mine. They were created, but they were pretty real. The pauses, the nods, the expression, the emphasis, all of that, it got right. Now, why is that? Like, that is the extent to which AI has evolved. There is translation involved, there is voice cloning involved, there is gestures and all face creation, face mimicking involved. All of that, it probably took about say 5-7 minutes to create this. And so that's the power of AI that we're going to. Okay. Then let's think about if you just want facts. So if you're asking for facts for something, tell me more about Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya. It gives a very good detailed thing about it. Depending on what tool you use, if you're using Gemini, it will give you some links. If you're using Bing, it will give you some links on the web. If you're using Perplexity, it will give you links. ChatGPT has recently launched this link feature, which can browse the internet. So different tools do different things, but primarily you can pull out facts from the web. In fact, I also use it quite a bit for any kind of purchasing that's needed. You say, give me the lightest phones from Samsung. Give me the lightest phones from this. Give it that in a table. It will give you all of that pretty decently. Sometimes asking it for children help me remember the periodic table. So mnemonics. So saying alkali metals, it says pronounce it as Lena ki ruby kasper. Think of a story involving a person named Lena and her ruby that involves krypton. Krypton, although krypton is not an alkali metal, it sounds like calcium, Latin name for potassium. So now it's giving me techniques to remember also. Okay, so it's not just about facts. It's about the underlying technique with which we generally remember. Then if I say use my doodle, so here's a child in some class had doodled this. I took a picture of it and said, of course I'm trying to teach addition here. This guy is doodling. I took a picture of that doodle and said, using this doodle, can you give me an explanation for addition? And now it nicely says to explain this, imagine the doodle represents a character who has collected some items. Each eye represents one item. So this eye plus this mouth represents another. So the character has two eyes. We can count it as two items, a mouth, and we can look at this explanation for single digit addition. So that is a long explanation it gives me. Okay, so it tries to interpret things. So all of this is a lot of interpretative and generative thing that we are looking at. Now, as a teacher, if I look at it from a teacher's point of view, let's say this is a mark sheet for a student, formative assessment. And the student got these two things wrong, these three things wrong. And now if it's a teacher would start looking at patterns as to why the child has gotten this wrong. Can anyone spot what is the pattern here? It's probably visible. 10 plus 5, 60, 3 plus 2, 5. 3 plus 12, 42. What's the child lacking? Yes, ma'am. In two-digit number is adding the first digit, huh? So place value going. So place value is the problem. Yes. So thank you so much. Perfect, right? You're probably into education or no, just common sense. Yeah, perfect. So that's how beautiful. No, that's how teachers do it. That's how teachers do it. That's human intelligence. Now try to push the limits of this to say, can it identify that pattern? So now here it says, for this it explains what the mistakes are. Then it says, the pattern in your error suggests that you're mistakenly adding one of the numbers as if it were a multiple of 10. It's important to recognize each digit's place value and add the tens, ones, hundreds accordingly. So it nailed it. It nailed this very perceptive thing. It's scary, almost, right? This is something that you would only trust a very experienced teacher to do. Not, a French teacher, come out of rote learning, won't probably catch this. A very experienced teacher would, or someone with a good sense of perception would, like ma'am here had. This AI caught. Okay, so you can stretch it to this as well. Then there are tools like you saw the deepfake that I created of myself. There are tools that allow you to pick an avatar. You can pick any avatar. You can say what dress it should have. So you can say, I want this avatar with this kind of voice, with this kind of dress, with this kind of language. So you almost create your own teacher. Then I tried getting into the philosophical side of things. Like, let's ask a deeper question. So this was with a 7-year-old child. And I asked the child to say, ask this anything. Okay, this is ChatGPT. It will answer you things. And now if I ask that child to ask anything, guess what the child had heard? In school they were taught Gandhiji went to jail in 1942. Now the question was in his mind, right? In this child's mind, is why was he sent to jail? Jail is wrong, right? Now that is a very tricky question, right? That children ask. A freedom movement, where they are breaking rules. And then you say, these are the heroes. Then what is the explanation? How do you explain it to a child who is 7 years old? If you read the explanation, right, beautiful explanation. Imagine that something's wrong is happening to you. And it's happening to everyone around you. You need to stand up. You need to raise a voice. You need to do it with non-violence. And that is the way they did this. So beautiful explanation of that. But now, when you ask a child to go further, like, okay, what else would you want to ask? Child started asking, can you, the next question that the child asked here, which was very stumbling, which was, how did it feel to be in jail? And so then ChatGPT gave an explanation. Imagine you are closed in your room with nothing to do, you can't meet anyone, you can't play with any toys. And so suddenly I realized that often in our education system, we are so fact-based and so high, fast-paced, we don't allow the child to pause and think about these kind of questions. Now, sometimes an accompaniment like this, where they're able to ask these questions and get logical answers. Of course, the interface is broken, the chat interface is not probably the best interface. But slowly in a year or two, it could turn into very smooth voice. And then it's going to be a very formidable companion, formidable way of interacting with AI. Not just that, asking AI to say, can you reflect on this discussion you had just now? What could you improve? So one of the challenges that happen is in the education system, for example, you would know DEOs, block education officers or district education officers actually visit schools, observing schools, then give feedback to teachers and mentor teachers. That's how teachers grow in skill set. Now, the challenge is the travel time. They can only do 1 or 2 schools every day. Not every teacher gets that quality feedback. So, ambient AI, which is, can there be microphone in this room? Looking at, hearing what's happening, and then later having a chat with the teacher. What worked well? What didn't work well? What could have been said better? What could have been done better? What kind of activities you could try out next time? That's very much possible. And so asking, but the question is, can the AI reflect on that kind of conversation? And the answer was yes. So it had a beautiful explanation saying, you know what, I probably need to use more analogies for that. So when using the analogy about the room, that was good. But explaining why did someone need to go to jail, that wasn't good. That was complicated. So AI itself started reflecting on that particular conversation. Then, things like, these are certain things where it can give you ideas of activities to be done. So give me 3 ways of explaining this. So often a lot of work that you do in the NGOs, in the grassroots, very hard to explain to someone in the urban setting, let alone funders who are coming from a foreign country. Asking for analogy, saying, hey, this person's coming from Chicago, and that person has this background. I am working on this. What are 3 ways of explaining this? What are 3 activities I can do for them to really internalize what we do? So if someone's coming for a visit, what are the activities I can do with them? So these are little things that AI is pretty solid at, very surprisingly so. So anything that's analogy related, activity related, all of these little things, very, very easy for AI to actually do that. There are things where you want to localize content. So if you're doing stuff in Maharashtra and you want to go to Madhya Pradesh, in Madhya Pradesh, the analogies that could be used would be very different. Kerala, the analogies would be used very different. So if you say ki in Maharashtra, there are these things that we plant in this grains and all of that. In Haryana, you say there's wheat being grown. But when you come to, let's say, Kerala, there are very different expanse, very different kind of objects in front of them. So if you're saying, let's count certain birds that are only found in Maharashtra, Kerala, it won't understand. If you say, let's count the number of houseboats in Aladdin, they'll probably get it. Now, what is a way in which you can ask for these localized ideas? It does a pretty good job at. And so saying, if I have to interest a child in something, so this is one very easy way of literally rewriting textbooks. Or imagine textbooks being created for every child separately. Where you say, I am interested in cricket. Now, every question, every problem could be a cricket problem. Why do I have my problem, which is, Chinu and Minu went to the shop, I bought 3 rupees of a sharpener, 10 rupees of a rubber, and then I got this much money back, right? That is a standard problem, word problem that is given to students. If this child is interested in cricket, so ask ChatGPT, just this child is interested in cricket, can you tell me more? Now I said that child is from Haryana and is interested in cricket. Now tell me more. No, so then he used player names from Haryana, used the name of a stadium in Haryana, and said, this guy had a batting, this guy and this guy went for a partnership, and then this guy scored 31 and this guy scored 21. What is that total partnership? That was what problem. So much more fun, so much more relevant, contextual, interesting. Now, there are things that, in terms of tools that exist, right, for people to chat with, there has been some research around mental health, although that's very risky because they have not yet proven to really solve that problem. Having somebody who really needs mental health doing that. But there are experiments to say, based on a transcript from your class, can you chat with the teacher? Can you chat with someone with an audio transcript of what went right, what went wrong? The other one is, can you create pathways? So one of the things that DoNew do is run projects, interest and strength based projects. And so these projects essentially allow them to acquire a skill. And it's of their strength and interest. So they're almost enthusiastic doing it. But now there's always a scaffolding structure. If you do this project, now you're ready for this bigger project. Then you're ready for even a bigger project and a bigger project. Every learning exercise is this pathway. In fact, if you look at NEP is about offering that customized pathway for a child so that it's a lifelong continuous learning. But the question is, how do you create those pathways? You can't say first standard, these are the 6 subjects, second standard, these are 6 subjects. Right now in colleges, that's one challenge. Almost half of the courses are now electives. Students are asked, how do you figure out which elective to take? क्या करना है life में नहीं पता, क्या करूँ मैं आगे? So now suddenly AI is able to create a whole course scheduling, course pathwork, scaffolding thing. Here are the 10 steps to learn AI. Here are the 10 steps to learn blockchain. All of those things are there. And so now with this in mind, let's take a pause at this point. Let me transfer to Professor Ganeshan, who's going to talk about more direct impact of technology and BharatGen and different things he's working on. But we'll meet back after lunch and continue the conversation. Now that you've gotten a brief idea about AI, everyone get the power of AI? Okay? Yeah? So this power of AI, now how do we harness it in our work? Okay, and first we start off with what does it mean for long tail. We'll really look at different tools also. So I want to show you a whole bunch of tools that are generally used, but also in what form can it be leveraged for you? And we do a hands-on. I want you also to do that in the afternoon. All right, so thank you so much. Let me transfer it back to Chetan.
So we'll go back to Rahul now.
All right. Very good afternoon, everyone. नमस्कारम त्याला सगळे एकदम एंथूमध्ये आहेत परत येस ओके सगळ्यांनी या सेटल डाऊन Okay, now you saw, how complex AI is behind the scenes, right? मला कॉलर माहिती आहे त्याला तर we've all seen how complex AI can be आता behind the scenes. I'll tell you significance of that. What I showed you earlier, 12 वाजता or 12च्या आधी, that included me speaking in voice, yeah, my voice, my cloned voice, my lip movements. Not a single Indian company or Indian organization, government, non-government, academia, or startup can do that today. So, what is that? The algorithm that you showed there and the very complex thing that Dr. Ganesh showed us was that secret sauce being created live as we speak. So it is really very nice and heartening to see so many institutes come together to actually make that happen for India. Okay, so that was the complexity behind it. And so thanks to that, we probably have this in more languages. So because I had it in Tamil, it was from something called 11 AI. That's a tool. Now 11 AI only supports Hindi and Tamil. That's why I had it in Tamil. I had to pick one of them. So forget 22 languages of India. Forget 900 dialects. primary dialects of India. Forget the 5,000 sub-dialects and all in India. So that is how, we need to go. So it's still a long way before you get there, but that is the kind of cutting edge research that actually makes it happen. Now, as we think of, now let's dive into some of the things that we actually can do. Okay, so from AI point of view, I'm going to introduce you to 3-4 tools that we are all going to work with today. Okay, and maybe we just start with that. We'll start. I'm going to show you 4-5 tools, and these are tools of very different kind. They are not competing tools. तो चैट जीपीटी उसका भाई कौन है? जेमिनाई. गूगल का है तो जेमिनाई, ओपन एआई का है तो चैट जीपीटी है, एंथ्रोपिक है तो क्लाउड है, मेटा का है, फेसबुक का है तो उसको लामा बोलो. Each one of these guys have their own different elements, and then there's open source element. So some of these are open source. Mistral is from France, that's open source. Llama is almost open source, and OpenAI, Gemini are all closed source. What does open source mean? कोई भी यूज कर सकता है, फ्री. गूगल बोलता है नहीं फ्री में, मेरे को पैसा तो ना. So the Google and OpenAI and all are paid services, but the one by Meta, very surprisingly so, right? Very thankfully and surprisingly so, Meta का जो है वो open source है, so we can use that. Now a lot more smaller models need to be created. So ये जो भी use होता है, so I tell you the cost of creating that video, that cost me about 160 rupees. That was about a 30-second clip, ना? 30-40 second clip, उसका 160 rupees लगता है. So 160 rupees for that, it depends on how much valuable is that video. But if you say कि mass dissemination के लिए, it's not affordable. You would rather have someone record it, that can be cheaper. Sometimes, so that's the cost right now. कम होगा cost, लेकिन आज की तारीख में it's costly. Cost to prepare. Cost to prepare, just to create that. Once you prepare, it's like once you prepare, you can give it. No, but imagine the amount of content that exists. So if you take agriculture for one state in India, and just the tons of content that you may have like 100, not just 100 hours, 100,000 hours of content. Then it's about prioritization. Then it's about summarization. So it's yes. I'll come to that. No, I'll definitely coming to that, but I wanted to give you a sense of where that earlier thing is coming from. Okay, now. कसं आहे?
पुढे मागे करायचं.
अच्छा, थँक्यू.
आणि पॉइंट पण आहे त्याला.
ओके.
हे लावून ठेवलं त्याला.
थँक्यू. तर आता if you can open up chat GPT, there are two things. One is you can have chat GPT on your laptop. So just go to chat.openai.com. So chat.openai.com should get you this particular screen, or you just go to chatgpt.com. Otherwise, if you are on a phone, then you can install the app on ChatGPT. That's it. iPhone वर असेल तर AI chat. आणि हो, perfect. Load करा. chatgpt.com. नाहीतर just app install केला तरी तो permanently राहतो. आणि then you have to log in. Login ते तुम्ही Google वरून login करू शकता. I think पहिले 2-3 तरी तो विचारणार आहे. Won't ask you for first 2-3 queries it allows you. After that it lets you log in. And after that it's also free. Free to the extent that it caps you at certain number of queries for the day, but you won't exceed that cap. So bindas kara. So tell me, anyone having a problem installing ChatGPT or just getting access to it? Just ask your peer who has gotten it on the table now. Everything? Any browser, I use Firefox, Chrome, any other. Edge, Firefox. Yes, that's fine. Okay. Now, let's just say, start with a simple query. Very simple query you start with, you say, who are you? Something went wrong here. Online, I think, is not projecting. Huh? In the meantime, everyone offline? Oh, it's my internet, man. My internet's on. Classroom 1.
Plus 5G currently.
Classroom 1.
5G. 5G. त्याला करा सर H करा H H नसीमचं C capital
C capital.
H
Class, no?
class at 4567 C फक्त capital H एक मिनिट दाखव.
Okay, so do you get a response? Now everyone got one response from it. Let's say I'm ChatGPT or something. No, just type any question. Who are you? Ask it its name. What's your name? You tell it, tell your name. You say, I am Rahul. You say, hi Rahul. Think of it like a friend. Good. Now, if you want to get adventurous, ask it to give you a poem about Pune. Just say, give me a small poem about Pune.
अलग classroom second
Got it. You get a poem?
Yeah, got it.
Got it? पढ़ के सुनाएगा?
In Pune's art and culture blend with tales and history that never end, a city of learning, vibrant and cool. Pune, your charm forever stays with you.
Very nice. Different points to different ones or different ones. Up now. Excellent. That is primarily the beauty of AI, which is it has so many combinations that it will vary. It is what is called probabilistic. So it will come up with different variants for everyone. That is why it feels different. Okay, it's always different for different people. Problem असेल तर just raise your hands. There are helpers around. They all come and help you with. आलं का? कळलं? ते कनेक्ट केलंय का? You have Wi-Fi सगळ्यांना पाठवतो होतो त्या ह्याच्यावर. See if you need to connect by Wi-Fi. This is the Wi-Fi password. Classroom 1 and class at 4321.
You can bring friends in the group also. You can access it from there.
Just half put together. If anyone has not gotten a response, Kavita ke liye, can you ask now to say, can you say that poem in Marathi or can you say that poem in Hindi?
Yeah, I said that.
You got a Marathi one? मस्त. ऐकता का? तो कलर नाही काय? चालू करेल.
आहे सर आहे तिथं आहे.
मराठी आहे का?
पश्चिम घाटाच्या कुशीत वसलेले पुणे शहर सुंदर सुखवे उधळलेले शिवरायांचा वाड्याचा दरबार या सांगतो इथला थोर वाटचा आभार बोलतो ज्ञानाचा माळा विद्येचे माळ्यागर बघणाईचा उत्साह स्वप्नांना नवग्रस्त सिंहगड पर्वतीचा उंच शिखर निसर्गाचं सौंदर्य पावणारे दृश्य वडापावच्या गाड्या मुळामुठीला किनारा सांस्कृतिक रंगाची लागते इथे न्यायालय गुरुवारा असेच प्रामुख्याने प्रेमाचे ज्ञानाचं औंदार्य आपल्या मागला
क्या बात है, क्या बात है, क्या बात है. How many of you got that poem? Got some poem in Marathi or in Hindi? Huh? Got it? Anyone who not got it? Samana bindas. काही नाही. AI मध्ये हे असतं की 2 वर्षापूर्वी ना none of this existed. So nobody knew anything about AI. So if you don't get it or are not able to access it, it's not your problem. It's just we are all in first standard on this AI. So please, Bindas Saga, this is really for you to kind of get that. वेगवेगळ्या प्रत्येकाची म्हणायची कविता वेगळी. Everyone gets a different one. सगळ्यात वेगवेगळ्या. चॅट जीपीटी मध्येच सायमल्टेनियसली सगळ्यांनी पोएम विचारली पुण्याची प्रत्येकाला वेगळं.
हॅलो.
परत विचारला अजून परत नाही मग चांगली गोष्ट आहे. विचार टेक्निकल पॉइंट वेगळा आहे. आता गुड पॉइंट. आता एक क्लास हो very short form was stars form. Exactly. Must. The glow of hope, where dreams take flight, stars form shines as a beacon of light. Uniting voices, hearts intertwined, empowering change for all mankind. Each small step paved the way, a brighter tomorrow in shades of gray. Together they should rise, hand in hand, building a future strong and sound.
This is English Stars Forum. Now I have Marathi Stars Forum as a तारा. कारण स्टार्स फोरम तारा झालाय मराठीमध्ये. रात्रीच्या या गडद आकाशात तू चमकतो शांत निर्मळ थाटात तुझ्या किरणांनी जणू वाटतो गुजर सांगत अंधारातही प्रकाशात. बरीच मोठी अशी स्टार्स फोरमची कविता म्हणून मी सांगते.
छान. मस्त. So आता I want you to put 2-3 lines about your NGO. Time of going us? Okay, Ali San poem.
I said in three options, choose anyone.
Nice.
And so whatever is most near to me, most near to my organization in principle, I can pick that up.
Super.
And one more thing is we already practice that every month we have to send one notification to our employees
Okay.
on the projects on which we work. So what we do is we give brief pointers that this is what is being done.
Yeah.
And the tool gives us the flow, mailer.
Excellent. They are already
Very related.
Wonderful. So I'd like to hear some poems about your NGOs. It's a 60-second challenge, but in poetry. Now, one way to limit the poem is to say, give me a 4-line poem with rhyming endings. So you limit it to 4 lines. In English, you say it's a haiku. So different ways in which you can ask this, and I'll also do it simultaneously with you. Let's say. So. Now let's say so this was you very frequently use this across the board when it comes to wishing someone, whether it's a Diwali wish, whether it's a Ganpati wish or anything. That's like the ideal place to keep trying these out. Now one of the things that you would also realize is first let's pause and let's get that going. Does everyone have that poem? For those who have the poem, I want you to think about other things you can ask it about your NGO. So given 3 attributes, what would be the tagline for your NGO? So you say, what is the tagline for mine? Star Forum does this. Now, what is my tagline? For it to express it in 3 words, what would it be? Just try it out. सर तो वाईफाय चालतंय वाईफाय कुठला 5G
5G
चालतंय ना
हो दोन्ही एक आता लोड पण झाला असेल जास्त
कांट कनेक्ट टू दिस नेटवर्क कोणाला इंटरनेट मध्ये इश्यू येतोय का येतोय कुठलं हो हाँ very good आपसे ये कंटिन्यू कॉल कर रहा हाँ करना त्याच्यामध्ये येतो पण नाही येतच नाही करतो हाँ तर नाही काय काय हा हे कोणाला अडचण आहे का की द इन्फॉर्मेशन इट्स गिव्हिंग इन्फॉर्मेशन देतोय ती चुकीची आहे तुमच्या एनजीओ बद्दल कोणाला हे आढळलं इफ यू आस्क इट अबाउट जस्ट टू गिव्ह युअर एनजीओ नेम अँड युअर एडिट ते आलं कसं तर चुकीची माहिती देतो म्हणून ते सकाळी सकाळी म्हणते फेकू डीप फेकू जे प्रकार आहे डीप इज जनरली यूज विथ द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ व्हिडिओ ऑडिओ पण फेकू तो आहेच जनरल सो वाय इज इट फेकू इट इज बिकॉज इट इज प्रोबॅबिलिस्टिक त्याला ना खूप शब्द जम झाले खूप शब्द वेल जस्ट theory you will understand why is it doing what it's doing. Let me show you this. This is called hallucination, exactly. If you can just take a look at this, here, this. If I train AI, how is it learning all of this? How does it know about your intro? How does it know about quality? How does it know about all these things? It is because some data was given to it. What data was given to it? Wikipedia. Complete Wikipedia is fed into it. Complete Facebook fed into it. Complete Twitter fed into it. So, Changla White, whatever is on that thing is all fed into it. So you can't say it is perfect. Now, how many of you have Wikipedia pages for your NGO? Wikipedia page, if you have now, these things will be far more accurate. Why? Because many of these models rely on Wikipedia. So if you don't have one, I would encourage you to create Wikipedia page. Wikipedia page is a good thing to have. Current that is the proxy for factual information. Okay. Now, if I give it 4 lines, if I say this is a nice robot, this is a nice dog, this is a fantastic dog, this is a hat. The next word, if you teach a kid this and ask it, what is the next word? What is the first word that could be? So if you look at all the 4 sentences I gave it, what is the first word always? This. So as a child, I would think first word was no, this. So second word क्या हो सकता है? Is. Because I have not been taught anything else. First word मतलब the this and second word मतलब the is. And third word? A. Again, all 4 sentences have the same thing. So if I train it only with all the sentences starting with this is a, it will only have this is a in the first pair. But then the variations start after that. So now there's the probability that it would say nice or fantastic or happy. Huh? Now that probability has changed. And then within nice, there's a 50-50 to go to robot or dogs. So imagine all of the data that it has trained on. Imagine the number of poems about Pune. Imagine the number of sentences and paragraphs and essays about Pune. With all of that combined, that is why we are getting so many variations of it. And then it starts making it up also. So sometimes it makes things up. So you say, there is nowhere on the internet this art forum is an agricultural supplier of fertilizer. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, but ChatGPT may say that. Now, why is it saying that? Why is it completely faking something that is not even there in this training data? That honestly no one knows. Okay, even engineers don't know. The way AI is built, it is zara Rambarose. It is given this, Naral Pada, Paya Pada, and then Toreobrun Baba, so then something gets created. And that model may perform well, may not perform well. The reason this is very hard to do is the expense. So to train one big model, right, very, very capable model like OpenAI, Kavita medical questions, Shakespeare विचार सकता, Buddha Deshpande विचार सकता. That level of a model which knows everything about everything, that takes about 100 to 200 crore rupees to train. One training. And at the end of it, you say, "Arey, nahi, need nahi." Like that is why it's very expensive. How much did Facebook, Meta, guess how much they spent in the last 1 year on AI? $35 billion. 1 billion म्हणजे 8,000 कोटी. And they've spent $35 billion just last year. And that is why they have the best models out there that are in open source. Luckily, they're giving it in open source. But that is the amount of expense that these big companies have. And that is why AI is expensive to create. So when we have Indian researchers doing it with limited budgets, they are applying twice the amount of interesting techniques and technical skills that their counterparts in the US pay to apply. It's like ISRO doing that rocket for 1/10 of the price. No? Same thing AI मध्ये चाललंय. That is the geniuses like Professor Ganesh who are doing that. Now coming back to this place, can you tell me everyone has gotten that? Did everyone get this basic first piece? Anyone not got a poem or not got something about their NGO? Please call up. There's nothing to be. Yes. Yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, it will say, sorry, I don't have that in my thing. So let us do that. So great question. The question is, ChatGPT always is trained. If it's trained, then it will have a cap, right? It will have a cap on when it was trained. So let me say, who is the Chief Minister of Maharashtra? So only yesterday. Ooh. That's pretty good. So they are now constantly updating. This is new. So most AI models, now this is the internet thing that has been added to ChatGPT. Search the web thing. So they have recently added this over the last month. If you do this same thing on some other models, it may not be able to get it. But this is a big step ahead. Because that's pretty good. Earlier it would give you answers like I only can apply about April 2023. So
when we search for something, Google thousands of options and go
correct.
data is just feed to the Google and now Google is answering.
Correct.
Google and so this data is updated each and every second.
Google has perfected that thing of updating web data, crawling web data and updating it. It's very hard to do. They have spent 20 years doing it. That is why it's hard. These guys have cracked it now. They actually ChatGPT is about to launch a search engine. They said. We just take up the question 1, 2, 3, 4. हाँ अलग अलग मॉडल है उससे ओरो मिनी एस वन ओरो है हाँ 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 वो मैं डाउन करके देख सकता हूँ कौन सा वाला है लेट्स सी फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा उससे उतना हाँ हाँ
3.5. So they had the
correct. No, very good. So depending on the model, these capabilities exist, and if you use Foro too much, it will cap you for that chance. All of you are paying. To paid, initially I had paid, so that is 2,000 rupees a month. So it's fairly expensive. So if you're really using it for a lot of things, then it's worth it, but otherwise not spending on that. One, you had a question?
You suggested we should have it on Wikipedia. So what are the do's and don'ts of getting that page on the?
No, just go to Wikipedia, sign up as a contributor, create a page. Identity for India, I think you have added. Just follow the instruction. Follow the instruction. अपन पागल करता था ये भी सिर्फ पागल अपन टाइप के Wikipedia में करना anything any way that all these NGOs can get the Wikipedia presence anything हाँ get they go to make their own अच्छा ना you know one time then we can provide service nice maybe but it's very easy
First question, since there is an offer from Technologist how many NGOs or organizations want their Wikipedia to be created with this help? Ask Kulkarni. How many who is interested in using this help? How many of them? 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Okay. So next, I want to show you a couple of other things. One is images. Okay, so the same ChatGPT that you are currently using can also generate images. So images, let's say I just asked about Chief Minister of Maharashtra, right? Can you generate an image of this ceremony? Now this is where governments get very scared about AI because you don't know what image it will produce. Right? Nobody knows what image it will produce. You can't control it. So anything bad that comes out like this, and then somebody sends it on WhatsApp, becomes a big problem for everyone. So let's see what it did. नहीं ऐसे करोगे I'm not seeing it. So another thing you need to know is be very direct about it. As image should be visible in chat interface. Nothing is visible. Let me just refresh this thing. Okay, it did give me an image. Oh my god, it really gave me the real image? Anyone saw this ceremony? Is this the real image?
No.
No, this created.
Yeah.
They were all on stage, right? They are not downstairs taking on. Ah. Okay, now it's generating very scarily real images. This looks very good quality rendering, huh?
He's Eknath Shinde, I just typed.
Oh. So it gets these things really wrong, huh? So, okay, now another thing I did recently on the way back from the airport, earlier this week, my flight was delayed. Then the cab took about half an hour to come just to the second floor Aero Mall. Very frustrating. And then he came and then something AC was not working. So couple of things. Then I was like, kya kar rahe hai? So finally he was also dukhi because he was stuck in some traffic jam and all of. He had his own sob story. I had my sob story. Then finally, to break the ice, I said, write a poem about a cab that was delayed for pickup. I was waiting at the airport, tired, and finally came Bhau, the cab driver, and made me happy by dropping me home. Write a 4-line poem. So gave him the 4-line poem. Now I said, say this in Gabbar Singh style in Hindi. I really wanted to make him laugh. He smiled and I gave him the poem. But here he said, अरे ओ भैया कितने देर तक इंतजार कराएगा विमानतल पर खड़ा खड़ा थक गया और जब भाव आया तो दिल खुश हो गया तो एकदम खुश था ना ऑलमोस्ट लाइक स्टॉप द कार क्या हो गया तुम्हें कवि पढ़ा थे मतलब कवि ने AI now then created a photograph of it and I just said take me a picture of this story. And now suddenly you see his name, how smiley guy, welcoming me, I'm not very happy. All of these emotions captured in it. So today morning, Sawant sir, all the deck presentation, the images there were all AI done. They're not created. Now you can also give it styles. So this is one style, right? This is a typical style. Can you give me the same illustration, but in black and white pencil sketch form? Okay. Let's see if it can do a pencil sketch. Then you could also give it style names. So there's some other products like Midjourney and all. You can give it style names. Okay, here's black and white pencil sketch. Now I say do it like paint it like Van Gogh. So you can give it styles, you can ask it to do things. So don't assume कि एक बार बोल दिया तो हो गया. You can ask it to iterate. Okay, so if I take something like you have reached your image creation limit, मेरे को भाग गया, भगा दिया free में. Okay, अभी भगा दिया उसने. But ये Van Gogh style में ना गोल गोल घूमते वाला ये. So that's Van Gogh style. So for your idea right now, most of the time what you see is whenever you see people generating images, like even in the morning, a lot of the images were similar looking. They had the same style. That is the same default style of it. So for your NGO, I really recommend you to give it a style. You say, I want line work. I want people in reds. I want people to wear yellow shirts. I want this. So more you can give it, more description, more opinionated description, the better images it generates. Okay, so remember that about AI. You can customize everything. उसको चिल्लाओ, उसको बोलो कि नहीं चाहिए, उसको बोलो कि चाहिए, and it will do that for you. This you can't do with a human. If you have somebody who is a designer, you can't say कि ऐसा है, वो बोलेगा नहीं नहीं ऐसा ही होता है. You have never interior decorated your house, and you say कि ये वाला ऐसा कलर क्यों नहीं लगा? बोले नहीं ऐसे ही अच्छा लगा. Okay. But AI को बोल सकते हो, नहीं 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 ऐसे ही है. ऐसे ही देना मैं बोल रहा हूँ मैं ऐसे ही देना so it will listen. Okay, so please push back whenever you see things wrong, whenever you even see things wrong. So sometimes when it comes to math and all, so if you say let's try this and see if it gets it wrong or right. What is bigger, 0.9 or 0.1? Let's give it something trickier. Let me move this 0.19 or 1. Let's see. Or fix this, right? It got this very, very correct. About 3 weeks ago, it was getting this wrong, these kind of questions wrong. So one of the things OpenAI does is they're very, very fast at iterating on these things. So that is why OpenAI is probably the best model out there right now. So Xclosures is of course Llama, Meta, and also when you have to do it in open source, when you have to do it on all servers, then you have to struggle with some of these things. Now, if you think of just costs, you just want to plant that seed in your head about cost. When you think of what it costs to do things for your NGO, say I experimented with 3 different NGOs. One of them was they were all into education. They were all checking first grade worksheets. Worksheet कैसा होता है? You have addition sums, 4 5 addition sums given in pencil and child is doing it. So 63 plus 5, 68. Okay, now the task was to check those. A regular paper checking for teachers or homework checking. Now, when we get that to a teacher, the cost was about 1 rupee per worksheet, per A4 sheet. 1 rupee per A4 sheet. When we gave it using Cloud Vision API, this Google Cloud Vision API, it's been there for a while, my friend. That costs about 3 rupees per A4 sheet. And when we give it to ChatGPT, images, all of these images thing, 3 images and it contain my limit. Why? Because it's expensive. ChatGPT costs 5 rupees per image, per A4 sheet. So that is generally the difference. So you have to be very careful when you are really using AI because it can range from 1 rupee that a human can do versus a 5 rupees or 3 rupees that an AI can do. Okay, so unless you have a very good reason to need to automate it or need to scale it without doing it, I'm not available, then sometimes AI is not very helpful. That is what some was warning us. It is just technology has the marketing. You've got to see the holistic picture there. You've got to see the overall thing. If another teacher is getting employment, it is at low cost and she's reliable. The problem क्या? Now, often you would see a lot of funders. They want to say scale, they want to experiment with AI. So they will fund for things that are more expensive, but done with AI. So you have to make that judgment yourself, or your NGO, or the people that you're working with, what is correct. Okay, the other thing is in terms of, some of the tricky things is in terms of bias. Okay, so if you ask it certain things, it will potentially have bias against certain sections of users. It will stereotype. So what does stereotype mean? So if it is a boy, boy's favorite color will be blue. And if it is a girl, girl's favorite color will be pink. So this is stereotyping. So if you ask ChatGPT, let's try it. I've never tried it. Let's ask ChatGPT. Ram is a boy, Sita is a girl. What are their favorite colors? Oh my God, look at that. Blue and pink. Right? Why? Because the internet is filled with that information. Yeah? So internet is filled with this information, hence the bias. So this is just a gender bias I demonstrate. There is caste bias. There is race bias. So in the US, they created a tool which enabled police to decide whether to arrest an individual or not. In NYPD, they started using it. So they had body cams, all the police had some camera. Until they started using a tool which is just looking at the person. It would do face recognition, look up ki kuch pehla wala ye hai ki nahi hai, or just looking at parameters around, it will decide, is it safe to arrest this person or jane do? Guess what? Most people it started declaring arrest were people who are African Americans. That folks in the US. Now why is that? Because all the training data, most of the training data it sees as criminals were people who were black. And so now anybody is saying that is criminal. So then they started arresting more black people for no reason. Innocents started going into jail. So of course they banned the whole thing, shut down the whole operation, and now no face recognition is allowed for these kinds of incidents. So that is why we have to be very careful in terms of where we use it. One of the projects working on in judiciary, so trying to help the High Court, trying to figure out where to use AI. Now there again, you say, okay, we have a summary, we just do voice recognition, whatever is being said in court. And then instead of having somebody type it and or the judge typing it, judge generally does a summary of that judgment and all. We said, you know what? We will do it. So AI can do it. Guess what we heard back from judges and lawyers? They said, no. When a judge does a summary, why is the judge doing a summary? Because he is recording the witness's statement. It is not verbatim. It includes the emotions in it. It includes perspective or perception that the judge has about that witness. That is why witness को stand पे बुला रहे. नहीं तो वो लिख लेते ना. No, I need to see whether it is indefinite or not. I want to see whether it is genuine or not. That is the judge's judgment. That is why they are judges. That AI cannot do. So just simple transcription, simple transcribing, the bias involved, all of these make it really hard to use it in very mission critical cases. Now we say, what are other mission critical cases? You take healthcare. If you get it to ask a doctor, let's say, let me give you this, right? I'm having a heart attack. Ambulance is 1 hour away. Let's say if नहीं तो पुलिस भेज देगा घर पे. If I'm having a heart attack, ambulance is 1 hour away. So what medicine can I take? Okay, take aspirin, take nitroglycerin, even come and rest. Take even come and rest finally. But aspirin, nitroglycerin, at least it started talking like that. It started giving something. Now, what if this is wrong? So, aspirin from someone who is, let's say, already having some challenge, other complicated issue, definitely will do more harm than good. Right? So, every medicine is like that. That's why you need a doctor. So, that is one challenge in healthcare. And that is why healthcare is not, you don't replace it or even think about replacing a doctor with AI. In healthcare, what do you do then? Some people are experimenting with radiologists, MRI reports. So one startup I know, that is a radiologist himself is running that startup. And I said, why would you do that? Replacing yourself, or do you really believe it's giving you more insight than you? He's like, no. It gives me about 80% of it correctly. 20% is wrong. Which 20% I know? But it helps me with 80% of my work. So the drafting it does. And what the workflow that he got right was, I will give it 3 items. So if it is a fracture, right? If it is a lumbar fracture, it's a ankle fracture. The doctor will put in his language 2-3 words. Given a fracture, else normal. But from a report point of view, they have to write a big Mahabharata. So now to write that Mahabharata, he is using it. He has told what the crux of the problem is. Now he is saying expand on it and give me the Mahabharata. And then you get. Okay, so that way you're creating a certain checkpoint, check and balance. Even in Odisha, one of the things that we launched was agriculture chatbot. So for farmers, which means they could ask things in Odia, we translate it into English, use a search system to search it, it's called RAP, and then the result is translated back to Odia, spoke it back in voice, and the farmer listened. Beautiful, right? We were very happy, thrilled to see it. Now, when we asked farmers to use it, the challenge was farmers, there is a strong behavioral change needed to even get used to this chat interface. Like many of you tried it for one first time, right? Now imagine a farmer sitting in a village, not even an access to a phone most of the time, but data is low. So expecting them to just pick it up and start using now is not acceptable or not even feasible. So please account for behavioral change in any of these things. Behavioral change means what is the way we do things. So we have always gone and haggled with the driver. We have always gone and said, "Ki fruit wale ke paas paisa nahi hai, theek hai, ek lollipop de do, something of 1 rupee, to get that little coffee." What is that 1 rupee thing that used to get medical shop now? Instead of chutta. You remember what is that? Coffee. Rahul coffee, right? So Rahul coffee, their sales dropped by 30% after UPI. That is a correlation. So that is what is called behavioral change. When the whole world starts using something new, it takes time. Sometimes it gets accelerated by a demonetization kind of event, but sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so now every one of you, I have lost my thing to give images. Can everyone generate at least one image? Got an image? How many of you got an image? What is it? Huh? Car. Oh, beautiful. Oh. Oh. Oh, home page. By the way, now in case you are worried, what about copyright on these images? What about copyright for that? The good news is any AI tool, most of the AI tools at least use, at least ChatGPT and all, it is copyright free, these images. So you are really free to use it, nobody will ever come and sue you. So images that are generated are copyright free. Now there is one tricky part. When I said generate in Van Gogh style, so it has watched so many Van Gogh images, learned how Van Gogh reproduces or creates images and then produce it. Van Gogh को बेचारे को पैसा दिया आपने? नहीं. So that is the challenge with AI, which is the data that came. वो data कहाँ से लाया? चोरी करके लाया. So Google, for example, they scrape the web. I mean, Wikipedia is officially open source, Creative Commons. But all the other sources of data, that is scraped. Scraped matlab, you go to the web page, copy, paste, and you keep the data. But it violates all terms of service. So the people who have created those blogs, अभी पुणे के इतने अपने poem सुनी, it's coming out of some people who have blogged about Pune somewhere. That's where the data is coming from. उनको पैसा दिया किसी ने? नहीं. हम ओपन है तो 2000 महीने के लिए, but ओपन है तो उनको दिया? नहीं. So that is the whole concept of fairness in AI. It's not perfectly दूध से धुला. So where are you getting the data? Did they get compensated? Is the data free of bias? Then the data that you got, did you create the model right? And then is it open source or not? These are all considerations that you have to just think about. But for most of the part, if you are just generating images out of ChatGPT, assume that is copyright free. You can use it. So create fun, fancy images, put it on your website, ask for different styles, and all of that is possible. Okay, so that is image generation. Now, if I have to go to something more interesting, there is something called Notebook LN. Notebook LN is okay. Notebook LN is this thing which basically allows you to select any source. So the sources include any file that you have. This is on Google, book.notebookln.google.com. Now, the sources include any file that you have, PDF, text, markdown, audio, video, anything. Or you can give it a Google Drive link, or you could give it a website link. Now, anything goes. Even a YouTube link is fine. Now, if you give it something, let's say I give it Stars Forum website. Let's say Stars. Or anyone else want to give your website? Which one? मला येऊन सकता है सर? Just tell me.
Yes,
Okay, बरोबर ना? Okay, now can you just quickly tell everyone काय करते हैं आपकी संस्था?
Organization works in wide suites of working livelihood, community development, sustainable community development, agriculture, then tribal development.
छान. अच्छा, मस्त मस्त. नाही छान, एकदम मस्त काम करतात. आता हे बघ, आता let me remove this. Okay, this one, right? So see, this scrolling part, right, from the net, I just gave it a URL, it got this directly. Now, let me just do this again with a different book. Okay, so you can create notebooks and you can add these things. So I'm going to give it website, and this was the website. So what it does is it parses that website, and now I can ask it questions about that website. Hi. Okay. So now you say this. Now I can do a whole bunch of things. It gives me a summary here. Let's say what is SJSL overall impact on communities it served? How sustainable are the things? Let me just say, what does SJSM do? Let's start with what does it do. Now, one of the things it does is it will give you a very nice. So, Shramjeevi Janata Sahayak Mandal is an organization founded in 80 by a group of young people, nomadic tribes living in Koyna Dam. Barabar, na? Okay, so it gives you a good summary. But unlike ChatGPT, we said it was FAQ, right? This is not FAQ in the sense it will give you references for everything from your website. Everyone, please pay attention. Just 2 minutes. This is very important. Notebook LM allows you to create summaries with references from the original text. So this becomes very powerful in the way you parse documents, in the way you reference things. Current, if you are doing it in regular GPT, you have no clue कि वो कौन सा फेंका है कौन सा नहीं है. So one thing we learned, never trust it completely. You have to review it. So put the onus not on AI. कि काहीतरी चुकीचा website वर and then you say कि अरे हे काय आलं, and then you have a question, अरे काय माहिती I use GPT आणि it gave me that. That's not an excuse. You finally signed up on it. GPT can help you help your work, but GPT cannot be responsible for your mistakes. म्हणजे चालणारा पण चालणार. Yeah, so you cannot have a charter who's outsourcing it to LLM and then saying कि but charter did the mistake. Okay, so this is a very powerful mechanism of getting references. So all of these are referencing. So it's giving me all of these references. I can have multiple things here. Now another thing I can do that is very interesting here, which is I can click this thing, which is create a little two-host conversation. I can create a two-host conversation, and I just did that for Star Forum 2 minutes ago. So let me try this. Let's hope the voice works.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive, and today we're heading to rural India.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a place where, access to opportunity isn't always a given.
Right.
But we're going to be looking at a really unique organization called the STARS Forum.
Okay.
And how they are using some pretty cool approaches, some even involving AI.
Wow.
To try to tackle this challenge of bringing skills training and advancement opportunities to these rural communities.
That sounds really promising. I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah. And our main source for this deep dive is going to be the STARS Forum's website. So let's just dive right in.
Let's do it.
So STARS Forum, it's been around since 2010, and the website is just packed with information. It's clear they're all about connecting the dots between NGOs, government folks, educational institutions, really trying to create a network and make a difference in these rural communities.
Notebook. Notebook.google.com. And what I do at the end is share a link, set of links with you, or more than what we covered, but try it out. So most of everything that we have tried out will be in those links, so you can try that out at home also. It is available as a website only. This is not on the phone, unfortunately. If you're trying to use it on the phone, you can enable desktop mode and try it, but it's not very easy. But on a browser, it works beautifully. Okay, so about 13 minutes of content, right? 13 minutes of a podcast. So people go to big expensive sound rooms, hire some great to do a podcast. Just read it. Yeah. So the same thing can be done for anyone. Right? Let's see if the other one is ready now. So this is still happening. We'll come back to it. But then you can create anything out of it. So give me a briefing doc about it. Give me a study guide for it. Give me table of contents for it. FAQ for it. So let's say I do FAQ, right? Because every website needs an FAQ. So from your own website, it will just create a new note, which is an FAQ. So this notebook llm.google.com, look at this now. What is the Star Forum? What is the mission? Oh, I had selected both at that point. Huh? It's now doing it for both. Okay, what is the livelihood? What is the vision for this, and so on. Now, one of the interesting use cases I used it for a few days ago was when I had a lot of receipts, or actually a lot of bookings. Where was that booking? I was going to Bangalore, then going to Bhubaneswar, then coming back to Pune, and I had like multiple flights, I had multiple cabs in each place, and I had multiple places to go and booking, right? Hotel booking, so hotel confirmation number also. एवढा गोंधळ झाला होता की I couldn't remember exactly what time is what flight. So because I had meetings, I was going to forget do I need to catch a cab or anything. So I gave it all my receipts, all my booking documents. So this is my cab. These are some PowerPoints. This is my hotel booking. This is my flight booking, and so on. And asked it, just give me a summary in a table for this whole thing. So let me just do it live here. Summarize my travel in a table in chronological order. Chronological means by time and with confirmation numbers. Now it takes all of this info. All of them are PDFs. Very hard to read PDFs. And look at that. So it got me this 8:30 Desire cab picks you from to Pune airport, confirmation number this. 7:30 a.m. this flight to Bangalore. Arrived in Bangalore this, another cab here, confirmation number this. All of that summarized in one table. So when you think of expense reports, when you think of anything that you have to do which involves a lot of documents, this is golden. Another thing that you can try out is, let's say you take let's say some policy. So let's say this is a marine cargo policy. This is a very, very complicated doc. It's a very, very complex document, which is some policy around marine cargo insurance policy. The insurance policy, everyone knows, right? It is the worst thing possible. Can't do, don't know what it does, how it does. Can you explain me in simple words what is this policy for, and what should I be worried about when signing this? What questions should I ask before signing? Okay, so this generally with legal documents, lawyer sends us something, we blindly sign, we don't know what we are signing also, no? It's always good to put that PDF into an notebook and say, can you tell me what are the things that can go wrong with this document? And it will give you a good summary. So here, it's talking about these things. Marine cargo policy from Tata AIG, protecting goods during transportation. It covers these modes of transport. Here's what you should be worried, and now the questions to ask before signing. Coverage. What risk does this policy cover? Clarify the extent of protection against theft, damage. बोलते तो है ना, theft, damage ये वो. But anyone ever has gotten full money back after an insurance policy? Never, ever, anyone, right? So what is the cap? So there is no coverage, no specification of the extent of it. And references are there. So you say references, the limits represent maximum liability will accept. And there are some things here but not quite clearly mentioned. So you can exactly point out exactly what are the things. Does it cover all types of goods? So it's not really specifying all of these things. So it's giving you a very clear understanding in the doc. So it will highlight in the doc on the left hand side. This is the clause it's talking about, and this is what you need to ask. And so suddenly you're going to look like a lawyer when you go to this guy and you say, tell me answers to these things before I sign. It's a godsend. It's really very helpful. Any kind of thing that you are doing with NGOs. So, for example, I really love this one site called Wave. Wave has a privacy policy. So this is a very good example of how to use this, although these guys did it far earlier than GPT existed. But look at this. So these guys have a privacy policy, but instead of just the lawyer mumbo jumbo, they have a right-hand column which says in simple terms. What does this mean? In simple terms, if you have questions, we have someone to listen, and here is how you can get in touch. Identifying purposes. What does that mean? Any features won't without work without personal information. Here's why we collect it. So this person, simple terms, now you can say the entire policy, you can write it in simple terms. Entire document that you have with an NGO, if you have a big NDA that you signed with the institution you work with, त्यांनाही कळत नाही आपल्यालाही कळत नाही. Because lawyers give it, it's like Narega for lawyers, Narega for accountants. Those kind of documents, for both of you to understand it well, ask GPT to summarize key points and give that to the person in addition to, of course, the original talk. You said this is what we got as a summary. You also are clear कि कशाला लिखा है. They are also clear कि हाँ password thing. Okay, so this is a very powerful tool, and you can keep track of all the things that you're doing inside Notebook LM. So all of these things exist, and they will, they're all categorized well in that main link. By the way, SGSM to aiko hai apan podcast.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at a question that's at the heart of so much development work. Can communities truly drive their own sustainable progress?
Right.
To explore this, we're diving into the Shramjeevi Janata Sahayak Mandal,
Okay.
or SJSM for short.
Interesting choice. SJSM is a grassroots organization in India founded way back in 1980.
Wow.
And what's really fascinating here is that it was started by a group of young people from a nomadic tribal community living near the Koyna Dam.
That immediately makes me think that they have a deep understanding of the challenges in that specific region.
Yeah.
Their own website is our main source today.
Right.
And it's packed with information about their approach to community development.
Lots to unpack there.
Challenge. So everyone, please create your. Anyone try to create their thing? You got it?
Just so.
Oh yeah, sure. Mine I don't know.
I just want to share the learning that first said that yes, I would like to take the training of Wikipedia. And then as I searched for the two things which I asked them was, what does Wikipedia preparation involve? And secondly, I asked to create Wikipedia for Chaitanya and give the website. And now I feel more confident that I can move it to my own.
Just took some projects out from Vidyanashram.
Ani, let's see this one also, right? Now, for the others who are still not caught up on this, ask GPT, how should I create a wiki page for my NGO? Please give me step-by-step instructions. Research तो आपल्याच कामाला लावतोय. Okay, create Wikipedia account, create account in the top right, practice in the sandbox, हे सगळे टाका. So it's also give you some guidelines of what NGO, what to talk about NGO and all of that. And anything that you face problems with, take a screenshot and feed it back to GPT. So that's what I do now for coding and all. The best use of GPT is to debug your problem. So I'm trying to install something in Linux. Right now I'm put it in Windows, but if I put in Linux and then I have something that I'm working on, I will just take a screenshot of the screen, paste it into GPT, not even saying it at me what is wrong. You know what I'm. And it will say, it seems you are trying to install this Docker container. But this is the error that you are doing. So please use this command to fix it. And you're done. So any computer problem, you just need to take a photo of the screen. So when I take a screenshot and I'll just take a photograph of the screen from another phone, send it to GPT and say, how do I proceed? it will 90% of the time it will give you a very solid response. And if it doesn't, ask it, no, this didn't work. Can you tell me more? Then it will give you 3-4 ways of trying it out. One of them definitely works. So this is how you can really speed your thing. That adoption of technology can be very, very nice. Then the next thing I want to tell you, give you a sense of, where we are in this journey in terms of accuracy. So accuracy, we are only doing English stuff, Marathi stuff and all of that. But if you really go to other languages, if you go to even dialects of different languages, there's a challenge here. So, for example, first let me tell you about Bhashni. Okay, let's look at this tool called Bhashni. Anyone heard about Bhashni? Okay. So, what is Bhashni? So, when Prime Minister generally has a speech nowadays, it is live streamed in multiple languages. And if it's in Tamil, in different languages, it gets live streamed on the site and on YouTube also in that respective language. Now, how is this magic happening? Bhashni is a tool that allows for translation from one language to another. Who created Bhashni? Bhashni is created by 25 plus universities across India. So you take IISc, IIT Bombay, IIT Hyderabad, IIT Delhi, IIT Madras, and so many more universities. They've all, for the last 10 to 15 years, they have been collecting data, they have been creating their own models and all. But there was no way for all of these guys to share their learnings, their data, and all of that. That was the end of story. Now, for internet or for AI models to be created, you needed a lot more training data. So you have to join the efforts. Take IIT Bombay plus IIT Madras plus Technologist, and all of them together will get you something. To do that, there was an initiative the government pushed for, and of course, Mr. Nilekani and all really drove vision for it, which was standardization of how data sets are collected, how models are created and made available for others. So what this did was, Bhashni as a platform, which now Meti runs, Bhashni allows you to do a couple of things. One is it has support for multiple languages, and there's something called Bhashni Model Explorer. Don't worry, I have links in that doc for you. I'll send it on that group. Okay, so here this is Bhashni Explorer. Now what this does is it means there are a whole bunch of different models. STS is speech to text or speech to speech. So you say something in speech, it will translate into another language. Translation is just translation from one language to another. You can see there are models for Konkani, Dogri. So this AI for Bharat has contributed this. Who's AI for Bharat? It's a lab in IIT Madras for AI. Now, this thing that we heard from Professor Ganesh, it is a lab in IIT Bombay that does it. And they're working with 5 other universities. So you see different, about 135 such models created by various different people across the board. So you see all of these different models. So Bhashni team created some. Look at this. Bhashni IIT Hyderabad created Telugu to Hindi. So IIT Hyderabad based in Hyderabad. So of course all Telugu models are coming from them. Bhashni IIT Hyderabad also Gujarati for English and all of that. Now if I search for a model, I say Marathi. Now it's Marathi to Arabic, Marathi to Tamil, Marathi to English. It's English to Marathi. So who's done English to Marathi? Bhashni IIT Bombay. In Maharashtra, makes sense, right? So now you have something like this where you can give it any kind of translation or any kind of text. Stars Forum is based in Pune, works with entire humanity. Let's say translate this. So these are standardizations. So Star Forum पुण्यात आधारित आहे आणि संपूर्ण मानवतेसाठी कार्य करते. Okay, so these are some things that are the basis for a lot of AI that you see. So a lot of things that you see on real-time translation, voice, and all of that is coming out of this server. Now the effort to take it to the next level, where you can sync voice, lip sync, and all of this, that is what telecom organization came out with. Now, if you see, and by the way, you may not know of these things, like every IIT mostly, right? Say AI for Bharat is a very, very solid lab at IIT Madras. So they're building AI for India. There is LTRC, in fact, LTRC, Language Translation Research Center at IIIT Hyderabad. IIIT Hyderabad Language Translation Center today only is celebrating their 25th anniversary. 25 years they have been working on AI, on language only, just language translation, language technologies research center. Like they work with a whole bunch of different corporates also, but also contribute to a lot of these local models. So generally, in India, we don't do marketing too well. So our things are always not there. Our institution, none of their institutions, right? We don't even have a Wikipedia page. Like the amount of work that you're doing in the grassroots of India is far better than most corporates that they do with billions of dollars in revenue. But that marketing, you don't get time for it. Right? Most academics are also like that. And so sometimes you just got to dig in more. As opposed to saying, hey, India kuch nahi aata, ye kuch nahi karta, aata hi nahi hai. It's not quite true. I mean, a lot of hidden gems exist. It's just hard getting hold of them. They're always sitting in their space and so on. We need to just create more synergies there. But one thing I'll tell you, a lot of these folks are very open to working with NGOs. So if a corporate comes to them and says, do this for us, there is of course want money, right? Want funding. But if the NGO goes to them, many of these universities have a social bent. So they do have scope for taking on social projects funded by the institute themselves. So for example, I am at Hyderabad, just Monday, Tuesday I was there. They were very open to doing it. You have interesting problem statements, we'll help. Why? Because one is socially they want to help. But also it helps getting data for them that can help build better models for everyone. So in the AI world, if you are open like to working with some institution, I will tell you they will have a red carpet for you. Even Professor Ganesh would have a red carpet for anybody here. Why? Because you have a lot of good data. Using that, there will be better things built. And you can dictate terms, by the way. It's your data, you dictate terms. So are you okay sharing that data? What needs to be hidden? What is okay to share? What is not okay to share? Who owns the copyright long term to the data? What can the data be used for? Scope of that use. I said it is area to kuch bhi ho gaya. So you can dictate everything. So don't be under the pressure from anyone to give data. It is your data. You have created it, or it may not be even your data. It may be the people's data, right? So be very transparent about it and clear about it, but don't be afraid to ask those questions. They will help you figure out. They will give you options. That is why academics are good. Academics won't, person and men. Corporates, you have to be very careful about. But academicians, go to IIT Bombay, go to Technologist, you won't get run over by some lies. They will be transparent, but you need to make the call as to what you want to do.
To add on to what you were saying, I don't know how many of you caught what Professor Ganesh was saying and some of the examples he was giving. Many of his team members, he himself, are very passionate about natural farming, sustainable agriculture, all that. So actually they are looking at, they are saying, हमको तो उसके बारे में कुछ आता नहीं है. We are technology people. Now, if we want to make this possible, available to any farming community or anybody who wants to move into this thing, then we need experts on the other side. So that our current GPT gives the right answers. It should not give answers coming from some European or some Japanese or American context. It has to come from Indian context. So that is what the thing that we talked about, public-private partnership. I must have, many of you may have noticed when Professor Ganesh was talking about this partnership, he was saying that many parts of the society will have to come together to make it work.
Yeah.
Okay, we are technology people, we are research people. We are not. Our job is not to develop solutions for the farmer. You can take our solutions and deploy it in your community. Maybe like Nityanand and I were talking last night. we were talking about so many livestock issues, dairy issues, farming issues. So
true, so true. Like even Odisha, we launched this chatbot for farmers. Then nobody likes text. Problem is now the real problem they're trying to solve is kida aa gaya, crop man. What fertilizer to put, what pesticide to put. Now as opposed to like that, the way they will change, right? What is the mental model for them to ask questions? They typically will take a photograph of that pest and send it on WhatsApp to someone. Here, bata rahe kya kar. So now we are asking them to type in chat and then go back and forth. Do you have whitish leaves? Do you have, these red dots? Do you have black dots? And all of that back and forth is not the mental model that a farmer would have. Farmer has an image mental model. Now, who has image data about it? No one in India. Very, very few people because we have not bonded together to actually share that at scale. And so what is happening? Now there is one company, German company called Pramtex. They have the best data set for this. It doesn't work completely for India. But kya kare? That is the best that exists. And that's paid. So is it worth it? Is it not? It's become a big problem. So now in India, if sometimes, many people working in agriculture just come together and say, we will pull this data and we'll package it and we'll work with one of the institutes to help us do that correctly. They will help. Like that is also saying, all of these guys want to help. But standardization is very key. So when you submit image data, it will need to be in a certain format, with a certain resolution, with a certain file name structure, with some metadata associated with it. So only if there is a standardization established, only then that data is used. Okay, and that the institute can guide us. So anybody interested in working with any kind of institutes on this, please maybe connect it to Chandana. Yeah. And we'll all jump in. I would also love to help facilitate any of this because there's so many initiatives in the government, in academia, across corporates also, even foreign universities like University of Chicago Booth. Professor Sanju Mishra, he was here this week in Pune. So I met him and he was like, any NGOs wants to do analytics with AI? I'm very interested. And I was like, then what would be the mode from a data point of view? Would you need to own the data? Would you be okay with confidential data and all of that? He's like, no, I don't care. It's not like I want to publish a paper only. It's okay. I just want to help. I really want to give back to India, so we will know how. But using the latest in technology. So his expertise is in using AI for analytics. So he takes numbers, and I'll just show you an example of that. He takes a lot of numbers and does predictions. He optimizes marketing campaigns and so on. In fact, they also fund some of these initiatives. So sometimes you never know. Something that is your need in using technology may actually come up as a bigger project where it's data collection also involved, everything involved, and that becomes a funded project for the end. So any interest in working with any academic institution, US, India, or any of these government organizations, please let us know. Happy to connect you to the right folks. Then the other thing is around how do you know these things are good or not? So how good is a model? When you're starting to using models, how do you know which model is good? And so depending on the task, this multitask reasoning. So you ask it a question and it gives you a perfect answer. So here are, it tells you OpenAI O1 is the best model. GPT-4o next best, then Llama 405 billion, then 3.5 Sonnet, then GPT Turbo. Each one of them have different price ranges. That's why it's important to know which one. So the lowest one that works for you should be there. Now if you take this one, right, GPT Turbo, it's about 86% accurate. This is for English. So English, understanding a document and giving an accurate answer, 14% of the times it will get it wrong. That's the risk that you take. Okay, so be clear that it's always an assistant who is just drafting the first draft and then you have to work on it yourself. Never ever automate it. Okay, just copy paste and paste the newsletter. Please, it's not at that level yet. It will make mistakes at least 10% of the time with the best of models. There is coding benchmarks, there is math benchmarks. So if you see math, this is a specifically reasoning model which does well. but all the other ones, math is at like 75%. So please don't use it for calculations too much. There are only specific models that really can do calculations. So O1 and all, there are some specific models, but still by well, it's not like really well. Basic directional sense I'll show you. So directional sense on math, right? If I have to, let's say I take some data set. Let's say this is a data set of campaigns. So I've run a marketing campaign and I'm getting clicks on Facebook, Google Ads. Generally your agency will send you something like this. How many of you do Google Ads? Not anyone here, huh? Okay, but any kind of CRM activity, if you're doing, this holds true for that. So any basically Excel sheet you have, you did call outs for fund calling. So how many of them picked up, how many of them didn't pick up, data like that. So any data like this, you can just upload it to ChatGPT, right? So you can upload a data set like this into GPT and then ask it questions about it. What insights can you give me based on this data? What can I change in my marketing campaign? So it analyzes that sheet and reads data. So that's one thing you need to know is interpreting data, whether it's an image data like the handwriting thing that we saw or anything, that is pretty solid with AI now. Generating things, cooking up newer algorithms, cooking up some code, all of that is a little weak. But understanding what is something is pretty good. So you say, oh, populate columns. No. I want. So here, see, it's giving me a general thing, right? Let's say, give me action items for my campaign specifically based on the data there. Also give me two key visualizations. Let's see. So you can keep pushing it until you get it right. Don't think aisa hi aata hai. So I'm just pushing it to say, let's see if it gives me this. So it gave me decent things that what are all the different fields there and what are they useful for, but it's still not given me the perfect. Oh, I've reached my data analysis limits. Bhul gaye. Okay, let me pull something that I've done earlier. Okay, look at this. So this is what I have run earlier, and that is why I think I blew my limits, which is let's start by analyzing performance metrics, impression clicks, and media cost. So overall performance, average impressions, clicks, media cost, click-through rate, all of these things and insights from the analysis. So many impressions, so many clicks, media cost was this, CTR was 1.2%, and this is CTR by channel, CPCs by channel. And key takeaways, display channel is your best CTR, cost efficiency, search is the best one, mobile is the highest cost per impression, channel balance is this, and so on. So each of these things, it gives you a very good action item out of it. So numbers also, don't be afraid, but double check. Please double check numbers. Yeah.
When we are talking about analyzing data, putting in figures, getting some insights on the data. So some data points are highly personal.
Yes.
And highly confidential.
Yes.
For example, if at all I need an input or I'm putting up my team's performance metrics or for that matter, my NGO's financials. I want to see that for the last 4-5 years, how is it, what are my standards and how do I perform. So it saves the data which I'm giving is getting saved on someone else's account. Okay. What is the security of my data when I'm putting it in the public? That is one. Secondly, if at all, that data in that form is something which someone else is not able to access. For example, I have uploaded the PPT of my financials. No one else is able to get that. But if at all someone else puts a prompt that given the financial status for this particular organization for these many years, that data will be easily accessible. And in the era where there are laws coming in terms of protection of personal information, when we are working in the communities also, we have to many a times take a consent in terms of using the personal data when submitting it to the corporates also. What is the legal stand and what is the safety when we are asking any data analytics from ChatGPT?
Good. No, fantastic question. Everyone got the question? What about security? Now, security is a spectrum. It's a spectrum. I tell you all ends of the spectrum. So one end of the spectrum is free for all. We are giving data, all of the prompts that we gave just now, everything that we did, ChatGPT has taken it. It will use it to train more models. Then once in a while, that thing where that specific name starts appearing is possible. Yeah, nobody can guarantee that. So it's very much possible. Simple thing, this is not very, very, very sound, but still, whenever you're doing a new chat, where is that place? I'm forgetting. In the mobile phone, there is one that allows you to quickly say, keep this hidden. Temporary chat. Look at this temporary chat. So this is ChatGPT claims that they are not going to look at this data. But Bhagwan bharose thoda, matlab ChatGPT bharose. Okay, it's as much as we trust OpenAI. So that's one challenge. But this is, if at all, you're okay risking it a little, but still want to use it, but want to be safe. This temporary chat is a way of ensuring OpenAI doesn't use it. The other level is where you're signing a contract with OpenAI. So many of the paid plans, there are multiple versions of the paid plan. In the enterprise plan, they guarantee legally that they won't train data on your. So that's another level of protection. So I would say if there's confidential stuff, but you're okay with it going to OpenAI, you trust OpenAI's commitment that yes, they're not going to see it, then you can go for the enterprise plan that allows for it. Little more expensive, I think $20 ki $60, but it at least guarantees that. Then you say higher protection than that. Then you take Infosys, right? Infosys does not sign a deal with GitHub Copilot and OpenAI. You say all 2-3 lakh employees of Infosys will start using OpenAI or ChatGPT for work, for generating code. Now that is so highly confidential data, right? This is clients where they have signed confidentiality agreements. So they cannot be sure. I don't trust any of their engineers. How do I make sure it's safe? So OpenAI and Microsoft basically combined to say, what? We will set up servers owned by Infosys on their cloud that are controlled by Infosys, and there they will put ChatGPT on it. So you are sure that tomorrow server pe chal raha hai, nobody is able to see what the hamare paas aa hi hai. So that is a level of commitment also that can be made. So these companies do that. Now you are saying, क्यों इनकी इतनी पूजा कर रहे हैं? Why only OpenAI? What else? Right now, when they are working with the government about government like नहीं भेजना. It needs to be on Indian soil. So it needs to be in the Indian soil for Indian data. So one thing is, how do you make it run on Indian soil? Many of these servers, OpenAI, now are foreign servers. Then you get to a point where you say, okay, let us host these models ourselves. Now then OpenAI goes for a toss because ChatGPT is OpenAI. That means foreign server, because you can't trust that. Then what do? You take Llama. Llama is a meta wala thing, but it's open source. Or you take Mistra. Or there is a company called Servam, which is building Indic models. Company out of IIT Madras. They had the original team behind Bhashini, and then they moved on and created Servam as a startup. So they are also creating very nice models. There's 2.ai. So these are all some commercial companies also. Otherwise, there is Rama and Mistral, and then there are a lot of ending models available. You have to have a GPU to be able to run that model. So everyone knows CPU. CPU होता है ना कंप्यूटर में. Your laptop has a CPU. तो GPU चाहिए. Now where you have heard about GPU? You know बच्चों के games में. So gaming laptop होता है ना. What is a gaming laptop? You must have seen ads about gaming laptop. क्या होता है gaming laptop? Gaming laptop has a GPU. इसलिए उसको gaming laptop. Now, why is that interesting? Because the GPU they discovered can also run this matrix operations very well. So anybody in background in 3D geometry काम you know वो x-axis का transformation यहाँ से वहाँ करने के लिए you have to do a matrix multiplication. So that gaming के लिए use होता है. Same technology is used for even AI. And that is why GPU चाहिए. और GPU चाहिए तो GPU कितने का आता है? GPU आता है about $2 per hour. एक घंटे का भाड़े से लो ट्रेनिंग करने के लिए या चलाने के लिए तो $2 देने पड़ते. $2 माने 160. 160 rupees for 1 hour you have to do. Now if you leave some site out point where all of your users can hit it, then you may need 2-3 such $2 things. Right? So then you're talking $10 an hour. $10 an hour तो 800 रुपए घंटा. 10 times 12 hours or 10 hours, right? Now you're talking 8,000 rupees a day. Then you're talking a lakh, 2 lakhs a month. So that can be the expense, right? For a small kind of use case. For larger use cases, then it goes into a lot more. So then what are we thinking now? Now let's say Odisha पे launch किया है, UP पे launch किया. Now just the numbers are mind blowing. You know यहाँ पे 10,000 farmer use कर रहे तो पैसे डाल रहे हैं government के. How do you scale this to millions of farmers? How do you scale it to millions of teachers? So then the next thing, best thing to do is to say, क्यों चाहिए वो cloud and GPU? Phone पे नहीं चल सकता क्या? If you think about it, your phone also has 8 MB RAM. Your phone also has 1.8 MB hard drive. Your phone also has a decent CPU. So why can't that model work on phone? Phone में GPU नहीं है, but modern phones, right? Newer phones. All of the phones like Samsung S24, of course, more of the expensive phones. But anything above 40,000 वाले जो phones है, they come with an AI chip built in. And very soon in the next year, we'll have 20,000 rupee phones also with the AI chip. So then, your phone only can run that AI model. Then cloud की जरूरत ही नहीं है. Then खर्चा कितना आएगा? Zero. Because it's running on your phone only, ना? किसी का भाड़ा नहीं भर रहे. We're not giving भाड़ा for the GPU. We're not giving भाड़ा for the on your phone only. And that is the ultimate privacy, which is it's running on your device. It did not leave your device. One company that has bet big on this, and all of those the AI things that they're doing are running on the device is Apple. So a lot of the AI stuff that is running on iPhones, it is all running on device. They partnered with OpenAI to kind of make those models small and put them on the device. A lot of innovation is happening in making models small. So one of the things that I have run is code for GovTech. We have a lot of computer projects, open source projects, and contributors to it. So all of these institutions come, government agencies come, give projects, and then contributors, students, and all give those. So one student from Delhi University cracked this amazing problem. He took a Bhashini model, the translate thing that I showed, and that model was about 600, 700 MB, which didn't run on the phone. Not because of the space, just because of the memory footprint and the speed that it needed. That model, he used a technique called quantization and made it into a 150 MB small model. Now suddenly that model can run on the phone, offline. So then what that means, right now we are running voice recognition and assessments for younger kids in Uttar Pradesh. Suddenly all the kids can use that without any cost from the cloud. That is huge. So these are its step function. Then you never know कौन सा बच्चा कहाँ से आके they'll solve the problem. And it's an open thing. Nobody is an expert in this. So everyone can come and learn, contribute. But on device is what you want to push for. A lot of companies are releasing small models. Microsoft has something called Pi 3. Google has also realized that and started putting smaller models. Sarvam, all of these guys are creating smaller models out of it. Even Llama and all have 1 million equivalent models. They can run on your phone also. So if anyone interested in figuring out small models that can run locally on your laptop, please let me know. I can answer any questions, even later this streaming. The other thing is, what does it mean to run these models? Powerful models, right? Bigger models. There is one device that recently launched, which is Mac Mini M4. Anybody you've seen this? It's so small, like thus I am very tempted to buy it. But this one. So Mac Mini M4. It's one of the most powerful Macs out there. So if you take the same equivalent in a laptop form, that cost is 2 lakh rupees. But this thing is 55,000 rupees. So it's just this much, this small, and it has one of the most powerful GPUs and all built in. So any of these things that we did today can be done on that machine sitting on your table. So if you have very sensitive data and really need to do this, 55,000 rupees at all can cost to get started with full security. You can be sure and guaranteed that it's on your table. Oh, sorry. Raspberry Pi, great question. So can there be smaller models that can run? Not any of the useful models. So anything that can speak English and all of that, not really. Some of the very basic ones where you can do classification, some basic image recognition, those can run. So those models can run. But I think there are some smaller other devices also that come with some AI chip. So nowadays what people are doing is trying to make chips only, combining GPU, CPU, छोटा करके. So I think they'll start coming. Although at this point, Raspberry Pi 1 GB वाला RAM 1 GB पे नहीं होता है. Yeah, but that could be the real next thing that we will learn very much. Any other question about this? How to run privacy, security, very good question. From a privacy point of view, DPDP, you may have heard, Digital Personal Data Protection Bill in India. So that is a new law that has come out. Okay? It's a law now, not just a draft bill. What this law states is the data that you're collecting or using, you need to take explicit permission from the people whom you are taking that data for. And you need to tell them what purpose is that data for, that you're going to use it for. And as soon as the purpose is done, you need to get rid of the data out. So this is a very good law. It's just not enforced. So enforcement is zero right now. So Europe also had a similar law called GDPR. Now after like 5-10 years, they're starting to enforce it. So now you see lawsuits against Google, lawsuits against the big company. India, it will still take 5-10 years for the enforcement to come. But I think being aware and architecting your processes and systems to comply with it is important. So just मिलना इसलिए data मत लो. Just Aadhaar card की copy मिल रही है मत रखो. Why? Because you will get a ransomware attack, and then somebody will blackmail you to say कि now तुम्हारे नाम से मैं इतना Aadhaar card leak मैं कर रहा हूँ, because you have plain text Aadhaar copies in your hand. So one is going to push that line. So these are ransomware attacks that are happening to companies. कोई ज़्यादा होता नहीं, you don't hear about it. Why? Because नाक कटती है. Companies can shut down. But as these laws start getting enforced, you will face far more enforcement and scrutiny on that front. So I would say, if you don't need some data, don't keep it. It's as simple as that. नहीं चाहिए data मत रखो.
One of our NGO partners, we are working here, they are linking for various government schemes. They have specifically said this, that Aadhaar card is required, but we need number. No more copies are required, no Xerox copies, no digital copies. Nothing is required. Only a number is good enough, and that also we will take and put it on portal. We are not going to store it in our Excel. So whenever the beneficiary is in front of us and we are doing registration, it is directly going on the portal. We are not going to store it.
Excellent. These are best practices. I don't know if there's a forum for people to share this, but I think data and all best practices need some sharing of this best practice. So if you have a best practice, please share it with others. Everyone, please follow that blindly. Because नहीं तो बहुत problem आती है. हाँ. हाँ.
or civil society organization, especially, there are a lot more policy document, cybersecurity and these policies also. One is that putting a piece of paper just and people are going with it. And is there any basic kind of outline which, if there are certain doable things which they should be doing, otherwise sometimes they necessarily not on cost as you have involved. So unconsciously we are doing something which they
Correct.
more than just
Very good.
claiming.
So I think just being very careful.
Should be right.
Right, so thinking about it, just assume कि चोर के हाथ में वो डेटा गया. So how badly can that person use your data? Just think about your own data. Let's say I share my Aadhaar number, let's say I share my phone number, let's say I share my birth date, let's say I share my mother's maiden name. Now, can you not make a call to my bank and say कि मेरा कार्ड गुम गया है, please मेरे को ये करके दो? Then they will ask you these questions only, ना? तो birth date, mother's maiden name, ये वो 4 question पता लग गया, हो गया आपका काम साफ. So if you can think of use cases where that data can be misused, just think with your own data. मुझसे किसी ने ये 4 आइटम मांगे, तो how badly can someone use it? That's the question to ask. And if the answer is yes, there's some risk here, then please don't ask it of your beneficiaries, because वो तो बेचारे वो तो illiterate है, they really don't know implications of this. So ensure that happens. Another one thing that we've seen in Europe में एक ही है, no country is very evolved. In fact, India is pretty well evolved, very savvy and these things. But Luxembourg में there is one experiment called Lux Trust. So there is emergence of data trust. So what they say is data पूछना है ना, जाओ मेरे lawyer से जाके पूछो. Like that would be the ideal answer, right? I don't know giving consent or what am I giving consent for. So go ask my lawyer. Who is the lawyer here? For a collective, for farmers, like your farmers का data trust. So farmers 5-5 रुपए डालेंगे, उस 5,000 रुपए से lawyer का salary आएगा. Then that intermediary that sits in, right, is responsible to protect the farmer from any data kind of purpose challenge. So those data trusts don't exist in India. I will tell you how that works. In Luxembourg, what they have experimented with this, if someone is asking for my birthday, so this data trust comes in between. हमें क्यों चाहिए birthday? हाँ, हम क्या दे देंगे ना birthday पूछा है तो दे देंगे. बोले क्यों चाहिए birthday? नहीं वो पता करना. Age क्यों चाहिए? नहीं पता करना ना 18 प्लस है कि नहीं, वो कहीं तो कुछ तो खरीद रहा है. 18 प्लस चाहिए ना, तो yes no question पूछो ना, किसी yes is he over 18 or not, पता दूंगा yes. So why do you need to know the age or the birthday? Right, so they protect you in terms of saying what is the least amount of information you need to perform your job. So I would say same principle. These are all some good guiding principles. So use that principle yourself also. कि अगर कुछ पूछ रहे हो, क्यों पूछ रहे हो? Please think about it. If you can ask lesser granularity of data for the same thing, then get done with. So if you store things at a zip code level, you need a home address, zip code mango. So little things like that. And one note on Aadhaar. So while ma'am just now described that scenario, like copies नहीं रखना, बिल्कुल copy नहीं रखना कभी आना. Number रखना. I would go a step further to really protect yourself. Supreme Court says number नहीं देगा. So now क्या करें? There is something called one-way hash. Think of this. I'll explain you this in simple words. One-way hash मतलब क्या? Let's say my name is Cat, C-A-T. So now C-A-T, C is third letter in the alphabet. Okay, so C बोला तो 3. A is first letter, so 1. So T पता नहीं क्या है, let's say 15. So 3, 1, 15 is a number. Now 3, 1, 15, ये जो number है ना, only if I know कि CAT है उसका उल्टा, तो I can go back to CAT. नहीं तो मेरे लिए तो random number है. Now उस random number को और कुछ कचरा करेगा ना कि 3115 को 29 से मल्टीप्लाई करके 96 से डिवाइड करो और 29 से डिवाइड करो और लास्ट टाइम डिजिट ले. Now there is no way you can get back CAT, right? So इसलिए उसको बोलते हैं one way hash. Hash मतलब उसको मैथमेटिक्स करके उसको छुपा ले. Now you get some 4 digit, let's say 3179 aa gaya. How is this useful? You can't get back that out of it. But what is this used for? Deduplication. So now when you get that patient coming in again and producing that same name called cat, Aadhaar number called cat, you follow the same process to one-way hash it. And if you follow the same process, you will end up with that. You will end up with 3179. So then you don't get duplicate. But 3179 आपके database में रहते हैं, you cannot get cat. If you give me cat, I can get 3179. If you give me 3179, I cannot get cat. So anytime anyone comes in with their Aadhaar, with the word cat, you can know कि ये duplicate. So that is the concept of a one-way hash. So I would say Aadhaar भी नहीं store करना, one-way hash store करना. And the government guideline for Aadhaar is you store it in an Aadhaar data vault. उसके 50 रूल है, 50 टेक्नोलॉजी की चीजें हैं to follow. But NBFCs and all microfinance के लिए they use Aadhaar data vaults. Most of them don't. That's sad. But abhi enforcement are there, like really double down on that. So please be careful about Aadhaar. I think Aadhaar is the biggest challenge, especially if you're involved in microfinance and all. Because वहाँ पे तो सारा KYC लगता है, भर के डेटा आता है. So minimize the risk. Copies on laptops तो हरगिज नहीं. कहीं तो एक ही जगह पे होना चाहिए, वो किसी को एक्सेस नहीं होना चाहिए, एक दो दिन के पास होना चाहिए. जब काम होता है ना, delete it off. नहीं चाहिए. हाँ, नहीं very true. For microfinance ना, for microfinance how to push back. Yeah. So one is to push back and ask them for a good ये उनके ऐप से करो या वो करो. Problem is most of these NBFCs उनके पास भी वोट नहीं है. That process and the right thing. तो उनके पास ही वोट है in terms of following the right process. Now how do you minimize your risk in that? आपको तो काम करना ही है. You want to give them some money, your beneficiary. So I would say minimize your risk by deleting the data as soon as आपका काम हो. So you take data from them. 2 दिन में आपकी प्रोसेस होती है. You send data to it. आपके एड्रेस से shift delete दबा के उड़ा. वो उनका ना. एटलीस्ट आपका एंड्यूरेंस है. नहीं तो आपका भी नाम आएगा ना उसमें. लीकेज हो गया तो why do you want risk on your side? Now this is just saving our behind. From an end user point of view, protecting their Aadhaar card could have because the NBFC may not be following that same thing. नहीं supporting only वो NBFC जो है या फंडर या NBFC हाँ NBFC नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन जो है ना ये सारे वेरी ट्रू नहीं वेरी ट्रू उनका भी इंटेंट सब सही है टेक्नोलॉजी गड़बड़ तो अब क्या करें but most of India is running like that in microfinance very loose on privacy so keep maintain privacy yourself आपके सर्कल में आपके एनजीओ के लिए मेंटेन करो एंड देन उसके आगे अगर कुछ करना है तो देन यू कीप पुशिंग अदर मतलब खुद को पहले तो खुद करो एंड देन दूसरों को ज्ञान दो 10 बार सुनेंगे आइडिया से सुनेंगे सब लाइन पे आ जाएंगे इट टेक 2-3 इयर्स टू बट जस्ट बी प्रोटेक्टेड आई थिंक वी आर
Take some questions.
हाँ प्लीज
It's not turned on. It's not turned on.
So, yeah, on my website, I have videos made by my channel partners. So they don't have the series to share. So when I go to my client, they ask me who are the new players. And then when you go and see our videos of channel partners, very good players. So is it safe to have this video like it?
क्या करें नहीं ठीक है मतलब the videos are fine anything that will hurt them financially is the risk I would say I mean कहीं तो मतलब risk लगाना पड़ता है ना but I would say anything बैंक से पैसा निकालना is a bad thing वीडियो का कोई आपका चेहरा देखे उसका फोटो से डिफेक्ट बनाए that अभी गिव अप करना पड़ता है बिकॉज कितनी जगहों पे अपना फोटो होता है एक फोटो देके भी डिफेक्ट बन सकता है so protecting against deepfake although for female participants and all probably you want to take care of that also a little more carefully but otherwise I would say if they are consenting to that wanting the video on your site then utna I would say take consent from them have some trace of consent from them to protect you But in order to intentionally really protect them at the core, please advise them by the circumstance. अगर उसको job चाहिए और खुल के करना है, that's perfectly fine. But if you think that person's video may get misused, deep fake बना उसका और कुछ हो सकता है तो yeah, just be a little clear. मतलब in the context of their culture, आज की तारीख में in cities, right, in Pune या मुंबई कोई deep fake बनाया तो इतना तो genuine people will ignore it. यार हाँ मतलब तुम्हारी गलती नहीं है. But गांव में ऐसा होता है तो suddenly you know like नहीं ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है अलग कैसे होता है वीडियो देखा मैंने तो उसने तो ऐसे बोला. Right, that believability is far higher in the villages. So you have to take it in account, take into account cultural context, you know, then you see internet wise and all. Just use your judgment. But data protection bill privacy के हिसाब से video are very much. Yeah, sir, and then you.
You know, my experience has been just to can only protect the back, not the front end. They explain what I said. Because they ask for this information, your name, where you're born, your address, your number, Aadhaar card. In the last 24 hours, I signed so many places because they have forms from the government. You cannot ask that person, no, this is what they require. When you go, they won't give you one. Every time you want to go in a hotel, give you Aadhaar card, or your passport, then make a copy. What they do with it, you don't know. Every time you buy something, you're doing your credit card. They have your number. So you cannot protect information going out. There's no way. There's a little dhanda karni go somewhere else. And you need that. You can ultimately one side is protect. You are protecting investments. Your bank account, your title, your car, things like that. So I'm saying back end at that level. That means your credit report, you should block. If you want a bank report, you should at least have not one, but two verifications before they go. So they cannot get that. So you should protect what you are likely to do. Yeah. Because you cannot protect the information getting out. It's already there. And who has it and who has shared with it, I have no idea. You can only bank. I'm not protecting the bank. I'm just there you want verification and walks. That's all you can do.
Thanks. Question there?
Yeah. So I have a question is on Google Drive, there's a lot of data maintained on G Drive. People's photographs and other data, and because we don't maintain on computer systems, we don't for backup. So how safe is this system maintaining the data?
One must do that, you also do that. So Google Drive, it's safe. I think it's safe from a security access point of view and all it's safe. Google does parse that data to come up with more preferences about you. So Google does look at Gmail to give you some insights or ads targeted to you. That said, a large company like Google has the mechanisms and they're legally afraid of the law to not mess with some little thing like that. They won't leak your data. So Drive and all with large companies is safe. Recently, some smaller companies or newer companies have started offering Drive services. So basically, one thing you have to remember is anything that is free, there is some catch. Nothing can be free. So in Google, you are selling your data. You are selling your data content for them to create preferences for it, so that you get better ads that you hopefully will click on, and then they will make some money by selling you something. That's the hope. So the money you get or money they get by you clicking on the ads they give you based on the preferences they got from your data, that is the payment for your Drive usage, your Gmail usage. That's how that works. Now, when you're thinking of larger companies like Google and all, while that seems to be a very messed up kind of freemium kind of model, but they're so big that legally they are very tight in terms of their controls and things. Fly-by-night companies, smaller companies who are doing this, right? View them with suspicion. Because smaller companies, they will go out, nothing, you don't know anything. Like one common thing is where do you find all of this data being sold? A lot of SMS aggregators. So they're sending you SMSs about your bank, this much salary deposited, or this, where is this coming from? This is coming from some, they don't tie up directly with Airtel and directly with Idea and all of these guys. They just go to an aggregator who's tied up with all of these three companies. Now, what if this aggregator, they are selling your data in between? They know everything. They know your salary going in every month. So anybody who has access to that SMS on the way is going to be selling that data. So any of the smaller companies, they are not tightly bound by law. They are not afraid of anything. So just be afraid of smaller companies doing it. Recently, Jio launched the 1 TV free thing. It's very attractive. But personally, I'm not sure, how tight they are in terms of their privacy and all. But free is always suspicious. So I think just stick to that. If you have a lot of sensitive data, you want backup and all, Amazon S3 is probably a safe place to keep. So I don't think, just put it there and so on. Otherwise, Google also, Google Drive is decent, I think. But as Sir said, right, using two-factor auth, having an SMS coming in for validating your login, not just having a password, not sharing passwords. These are some basics to take care of.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I think
Chutkula next time. Let's, let's close with a chutkula. Okay, let's close with a chutkula. मेरा talent limited है. Let's see. एक चुटकुला सुना दो. जरूर सुनिए. टीचर तुम स्कूल क्यों नहीं आए? पप्पू, अच्छा टीचर बोले तुम स्कूल क्यों नहीं आए? पप्पू बोला सर बुक के पन्ने खत्म हो गए थे. तो मम्मी ने कहा पढ़ पढ़ के किताब मत खत्म करो, स्कूल खत्म कर. हैं? Well, that's GPT. Okay. GPT, but that's the state of AI. Hopefully you had fun. Hopefully you got understanding of what AI is. क्या करना है? अभी चालू करो AI. हाँ? कोई भी क्वेश्चन है तो ग्रुप में पूछा. We all like it.
I think a big amount of applause to my Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And once again, I think we have spoken to him barely a few minutes with this idea, and he immediately said, yes, whatever support you need from me, as we will give. तो उन्होंने एक उंगली दे दी, हमने पूरा हाथ ले लिया. And it's a big sikhा दो. So really, I mean, it's almost 3 hours of what he has taught us. You have seen how much work he does for his normal work alone, and so many different things he has shared. So big round of applause for him. Thank you so much. And I request Dr. Prabhu to give a small gift of thanks to on all of the Harsha.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Nasti.
And photo.